Hello and welcome to Red Sports Talk. My name is Zach. We've officially made it through week 10 of the UFL regular season, meaning UFL, the regular season is behind us, and we have the playoffs coming up this week. Now, in week 10, I went 3-1 with my predictions, finishing off the regular season with a 26-14 overall record. Now, let's talk about the playoffs. So the first round of the playoffs takes place this Sunday, June 7th. Obviously, there are two games, as there are only 4 UFL teams that make the playoffs. The first game is at 3 p.m. Eastern on ABC, as the DC Defenders, who are 5-5, take on the Orlando Storm, who are 8-2. DC and Orlando are actually coming off of playing each other in back-to-back weeks, so this will be their third game in a row that they have faced each other. Now, DC has had question marks at quarterback, and have been on a bit of a losing skid. They have gone on a 4-game losing streak, losing to Louisville twice in week 7 and 8, and then losing to Orlando the past 2 weeks in a row. And obviously, early in week 8 against Louisville, DC's starting quarterback and one of the top quarterbacks in the UFL, Jordan Ta'amu, got injured, went out with a knee injury. He's not available, for the rest of the season. So taking over early in that game and then continuing to finish out that game and start week 9 was Spencer Sanders. And then this past week, Jason Bean started this past week versus the Orlando Storm. Both quarterbacks kind of showed flashes, but neither one of them has really been able to play well enough or do enough to really stand out as somebody that should continue to be their starter, or really get the job done with the talent that DC has around them on offense. So Spencer Sanders has been a very good mobile quarterback. He's great at running. He led them in rushing yards in week 9, but not as good of a passer. Jason Bean, very dynamic playmaker, very talented, arguably more talented arm-wise and more athletic than Spencer Sanders, but does not make very good decisions with the football. Had a couple of interceptions this past week against Orlando. He threw a pick 6, which really helped with the momentum of Orlando. So neither quarterback really standing out, which is a shame, because this team, if they still had Jordan Ta'amu, I think this team runs away with it, and they probably wind up being the 1 seed in the UFL instead of Orlando, because on this team around their struggling quarterbacks, they've got running back Deion Jackson, who led the UFL in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. He's been a very dynamic weapon for them. Also, wide receiver Cornell Powell was 6th in the receiving yards in the league, and wide receiver Ty Scott was tied for 3rd in receiving touchdowns. He was tied with 2 other players in receiving touchdowns. They've got a very dynamic offense, very dynamic playmakers, but big question mark at quarterback, and not really sure which way they're going to go. But that remains to be seen. And then defensively, they've also got very good defensive lineman. Derek Roberson was 3rd in the league in sacks, so he's very good at getting after the quarterback this season. Their defense also ranked number 1 in points allowed and number 3 in yards allowed. So getting playing very good, but their issue, even their couple of losses when they had Jordan Ta'amu as a starting quarterback, with turnovers. And since he's been injured, it's been turnovers and inconsistent quarterback play has really been their downfall, especially the last month of the season. And then for Orlando, they are on a 4-game winning streak, and their quarterback, Jack Plummer, has really been playing on an MVP level right now. He's played great throughout all of the season. He led the UFL in passing yards this year. He was 2nd in passing touchdowns, and he only threw 1 interception this year. So he had a 17-1 touchdown to interception ratio. So he's been, very good at not turning the football over, and been able to move the chains and play well. and playing very, very good football. Now, he's also got some very good talent around him as well, as wide receivers Elijah Badger and Chris Rowland were both top 5 in the UFL in receiving yards in the regular season. They were the 2 other players that were tied for 3rd in receiving touchdowns. And then running back Jashawn Corbin has also been very productive this season. He hasn't had any tremendously standout games. He's been good enough for them. He wound up finishing 3rd in rushing yards this on the regular season, and was top 10 in touchdowns. And this defense was very good at not allowing points. They were 3rd in points allowed, so they didn't give up very many points, but they did give up a whole lot of yards. They were 7th in yards allowed, so they played very much a bend but don't break style of defense, and they were last in sacks and interceptions. So they, didn't give up a whole lot of points. They, were able to hold guys, not give up touchdowns, but we're not good at getting after the quarterback, and we're not very good at taking the ball away. But their quarterback was good at not giving the ball away, which really helped out that defense. Now, for my pick for this game, I am going to go with Orlando to get the victory here. If Jordan Ta'amu were healthy and able to play, I think it would be a different story. But this Orlando offense has been playing tremendous all season. I mentioned Jack Plummer's been playing great. He's got talented receivers around him, good running game. I do have concerns about this defense, but I think that this defense should be able to play good enough. They've been able to play good enough the past couple weeks against whoever DC throws out there at quarterback, whether they go with Spencer Sanders, whether they go with Jason Bean, or they go complete wild card and throw out EJ Perry, who they signed early last week, because he has some experience, in the UFL, former Michigan Panthers quarterback. So I think, regardless of who they throw out there, I think that at quarterback, it's just not going to be enough. I think that this very good, high-powered offense of the Orlando Storm is going to be able to get the job done and punch their ticket to the United Bowl. Now, your next game on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern on Fox, the Louisville Kings, who were 6-4, take on the St. Louis Battlehawks, who are also 6-4. Louisville is coming off with victory over the Columbus Aviators. Louisville is actually on a 4-game win streak. Coincidentally, their last loss was all the way back in week 6 against the St. Louis Battlehawks. A major contributor to their win streak has been their improved run game. So in those 4 games, and really in all but one game that they have won, they have had well over 100 rushing yards. Their worst rushing performance in their victories their worst rushing performance in their win streak was 134 rushing yards as a team. The only time they had under 100 rushing yards in a victory was when they beat Houston in a close game. But really, since they've been getting their run game going, they have been on a very good trajectory and built a whole lot of momentum going into the playoffs. Now, a contributor to that has been their very good running back tandem of Ian Wheeler and James Robinson. Wheeler finished the regular season fourth in rushing yards and 2nd in rushing touchdowns. Robinson wound up finishing the regular season 8th in rushing yards, and he only played in 6 games. He was not there to start the season. He did not play this past week in their win over Columbus. He was, I think, top 5. He may have been number 3 going into this past weekend, but then didn't play and had a bunch of running backs overtake him. So very good running game. And since making the change to quarterback Chandler Rogers, their offense has been very efficient and not turning the ball over very much. Chandler Rogers finished 10th in passing yards, finished top 10 in both passing yards and passing touchdowns, only starting in 6 games. So he's been a very efficient quarterback. He hasn't been doing anything super flashy, but he's been playing well enough for them to win behind their very good run game and their very good defense, that I'm going to talk about right now. So defensively, defensive lineman Cam Gill led the UFL in sacks. He's very good at getting after the quarterback. And then corner, Corey Mayfield led the league in interceptions. So their defense has been very good at getting after the quarterback and taking the ball away. Their offense has been very good at not turning the ball over and controlling the game and controlling games with their rushing attack. Now, for St. Louis, they are coming off of a loss to the Dallas Renegades. And despite winning 6 games this year and being the number 2 seed in the playoffs, they have started 3 different quarterbacks. They started with Brandon Silvers, then went to Harrison Frost, and then for the last 4 games, they've started quarterback Luis Perez, and they have had turnover issue. The only game they have not thrown an interception in, their quarterback has not thrown any interceptions, has been their week 1 victory over the DC Defenders. Other than that, they've thrown at least 1, if not multiple interceptions every single game. Quarterbacks have been getting hit every game. This past week against Dallas, Luis Perez was sacked 7 times. Perez, in his 4 starts, has thrown 6 interceptions. They have not a great ratio for interceptions, and he's played not bad, but turnovers have very much cost them games. And it's a shame because he's got talent around him as well. This is a very talented offense. They've got very talented skill positions in St. Louis, as they've got 2 pretty good running backs, and Jarvion Howard, who is 2nd in the league in rushing yards, and Kylan James, who was 6th in the league in rushing touchdowns. They've also got Hakeem Butler, who led the league in receiving yards. So Hakeem Butler has been a very dynamic threat, but they haven't been able to always get him the ball. But they've been having good performances, but they will turn the ball over at very inopportune times. They'll get sacked. That'll push them back, not able to convert on 3rd downs. Their offense has at times played, terrific and looked like one of the top offenses in the league. And then there have been times that you wonder how this team even won, games. They've just been not consistent on the offensive side of the ball. Now, defensively, is where St. Louis has been solid all season. They were number 2 in points allowed this season in the regular season. They were number 1 in yards allowed and number 1 in sacks. So they, didn't give up a whole lot of points. Didn't really let teams get many yards on them, and were able to get after the quarterback. They've been very good at that, but offensively haven't been able to do much with that. But they still managed to win 6 games. Now, my pick for this game, I think it's going to be very close, but I do think the Louisville Kings get the victory here. I just think that they have all the momentum right now. I think that they should be able to get their run game going. These 2 teams played each other back in week 6, and it was a low-scoring game, but Louisville could not do anything offensively. Chandler Rogers didn't play his best game. St. Louis's offense didn't play great, but their defense bailed them out. But right now, I really like what Louisville is doing. I really like the way Chandler Rogers is playing. I really like how this run game is going. And defensively, I think they're going to be able to get after Luis Perez. They're going to be able to force some turnovers, and that, I believe, will be the big difference maker in this game, is who can get more turnovers and who can do the most with it. And I think that's going to be Louisville. So I like Louisville to get the victory here and punch their ticket to the United Bowl. So I think the United Bowl will be between the Orlando Storm and the Louisville Kings, 2 new relocated franchises for the season. Let me know in the comments who you think you're going to win, how you've liked the season, what teams you're surprised about, either didn't perform better, or teams that you thought performed better than you thought throughout the season. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I love making these videos. I love talking about the UFL. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe. Until next time.